The Celestial Empire, or Points and Pickings of Information about China and the Chinese, by George Mogridge. Chapter 12. Scraps connected with the foregoing chapters. There are few pickings of information respecting the foregoing chapters which must not be forgotten. The British expedition to China, when regarded in relation to its probable consequences, is clothed with interest, and as I have only touched on a few of its points, you may not be indisposed to have 2 or 3 additional particulars set before you. As I spoke of the European factories at Canton, let me here give you their names. Number 1. Creek Hong. Number 2. Dutch Hong. Number 3. Dutch Factory. Number 4. British Factory. Number 5. Chow Chow Hong. Number 6. Hired Factory. Number 7. Mrs. Russell and Company. Number 8. Imperial Hong. Number 9. Dent and Company. Number 10. American Hong. Number 11. Hong Merchants. Number 12. French Hong. Number 13. Spanish Hong. Number 14. Danish Hong. I have by me an old printed list of the factories with the Chinese names and significations, which I regard as quite a curiosity. It is as follows. E. Wo Hong, Righteous and Peace Factory, is the Creek Factory. C. P. Hong, Assembled Righteousness Factory, is the Dutch Factory. Pao Wo Hong, the factory that ensures tranquility, is the English Factory. Fung Te Hong, Affluent Great Factory, is called Chow Chow Factory, which means that it is occupied by different people, Parsis, Moormen and others. Lung Shun Hong, the gloriously prosperous factory, is the Old English Factory. Sui Hong is the Swedish Factory, and the Canton people call a Swede Sui. Mei Ying Hong, the Twin Eagle Factory, is the Imperial Factory. Then there are the Pao Shun Hong, the Precious Prosperous Factory, and Man Yun Hong, the Factory of 10,000 Fountains. Kwang Yun Hong, the Factory of Wide Fountains, is the American Factory. Ko Hung Hong, the Old Public Hong, is the French Factory. Lui Sung Hong, the Luzon Factory, is the Spanish Factory, and Wong He Hong, the Yellow Flag Factory, is the Danish Factory. Besides these, there are In Ze Chow, the Swallow's Nest or Corner Factory, and 2 others occupied by Hong merchants. The one is Tung Sang Hong, the factory produced in the east, and the other Tung Fu Hong, the factory of mutual trust. Many changes have taken place since this account was taken. When the Chinese made an attack on the ships with fire rafts and plundered the factories, they broke into the Creek, Dutch and English Hongs to look for guns, and a lawless scene took place. There were the bald heads breaking up and ransacking every part, pulling and tearing, dashing and smashing wherever they went. Costly chandeliers were broken, beautiful mirrors shivered to pieces, merchandise pillaged and destroyed, and every article of furniture, door, lock, and window knocked to pieces. Commander Elliot Bingham R.N., who was attached to the expedition, has given a list very similar to the following one of the Chinese authorities. The names of those who formed the Nui Ko or Imperial Cabinet, one half of them Chinese and the other half Manchaus. Mun Changa, a Manchau Tata. Quen Shengan, a Chinese. Keshen, Imperial High Commissioner at Canton, a Manchau. Wang Fing, a Chinese. Elepu, Imperial High Commissioner at Chekiang, a Manchau. Tang Kin Chao, a Chinese. Officers of Canton: Keshen, Governor. Iliang, Lieutenant Governor. Atsinga, General Commandant. Yu Sui, First Lieutenant General. Ying Lung, Second Lieutenant General. Shen Maohin, Literary Chancellor. Iliang, Hoppo or Commissioner of Maritime Customs. Quan Tin Pei, Admiral. Liang, Commissioner of Administration. Wang Tinglen, Commissioner of Justice. Sung, Commissioner of Cable. Chu, Commissioner of Grain. Yu Pao Shun, Quan Chao Fu or Prefect. Liang Xingyuan, Magistrate. Chang Yu, Magistrate. Yi Chung Fu, Intendant at Macau. Zhang Lei Gang, Sub-Prefect. Wu Zezhu, Magistrate. Yang Weishen, Sub-Magistrate. You will call to remembrance that the displeasure of the emperor fell very heavily on many of them. Some of the Chinese asked an American what he thought of the great boom of chain cables, supported by huge wooden rafts and secured around the rocks, which was stretched across the water to prevent the passage of the British ships. "I think," replied he, "that one line of battle ship will break it like a tobacco stopper." As well might China strive by force to stop the tempest in its course, or check the whirlwind at its height, as Britain's navy in its might. Many of the rafts used in defense by the Chinese, consisting of fir trees lashed together and moored with enormous cables, were stated by the Hong merchants to have cost each of them at least $200,000. It is a singular circumstance that very many of the Chinese forts are called follies. How Quas folly, French folly, Jack Shoots folly, etc. A much less appropriate name might have been adopted. The determination of the Chinese soldiers was never more conspicuous than in the defense of Changjiangfu, a strong-walled city taken by the British after an obstinate defense. It was attacked by the troops in 3 brigades. The first was landed under the hills, the second under the bluff height to occupy the eminences above it, and the third, with the artillery, followed the first. The Chinese encampment contained about 1,500 men. This encampment was soon taken, and the Chinese soldiers were pursued, after which the gates were blown open and an outwork won. It was very clear how the affair would end, though both parties were, for a time, equally determined. Covered by the rifles, the grenadiers of the 55th, with 2 or 3 companies of the 6th Madras Native Infantry under Major M. Lean, advanced resolutely against the northeast angle of the walls. Here the ladders which the sappers had placed were instantly mounted. Lieutenant Cuddy, rushing forward, sitting astride the wall and helping his men over seemingly with little concern for his own safety. The Tatars were not backward, for not an embrasure was carried, but with the bayonet. The most determined opposition was made, and the Chinese soldiers, though greatly deficient in tactics, showed no symptoms of fear. A large body of them, who had no retreat open, rather than surrender, suffered themselves to be shot or to be crushed by the burning ruins that fell around them. I told you that the ransom of the city of Canton was $6 million. No light amount. The imperial treasury contributed in Sisi silver 4 millions of this sum. The Hong merchants paid 1,420,000, and the remainder was made up from other sources. The names of the Hong merchants were Hao Kwa, Puan Ke Kwa, Sang Kwa, Sao Kwa, Fu Te, Gao Kwa, Mao Kwa, King Kwa, Ming Kwa, and Pun Hoyo Kwa. The losses and expenses of the Chinese in their struggle with the British are stated as correctly as they can be ascertained to stand thus. Found in Tinghai Treasury, $3. Paid for the ransom of Canton and injury done to the British. $6,669,615. Treasury at Amoy, $20,000. Taken at Ningpo, $120,000. At Changjiang, $50,000. Paid at Nanking, $6 million. To be paid in 3 years, $15 million. Total, $27,859,618. Besides $6 million for the opium they destroyed and $1 million more which they must have expended in booms. The Treaty of Peace entered into with the Chinese was signed by Qi Ying, Elipo, and Nu. The first was Commander-in-Chief of the Tartar troops, the second Lieutenant General of Chapu, and the third General-in-Chief of the provinces Jiangsu and Jiangxi. Qi Ying is related to the Emperor. You will like to know the points of the treaty. There are 7 of them. I will copy them from Captain Bingham's account of the expedition. They are as under. Number 1. Lasting peace and friendship between the 2 empires. Number 2. China to pay $21 million in the course of the present and 3 succeeding years. Number 3. The ports of Canton, Amoy, Foochow, Fu, Ningpo, and Shanghai to be thrown open to British merchants, consular officers to be appointed to reside at them, and regular and just tariff of import and export, as well as inland transit duties to be established and published. Number 4. The island of Hong Kong to be ceded in perpetuity to Her Britannic Majesty, her heirs and successors. Number 5. All subjects of Her Britannic Majesty, whether natives of Europe or India, who may be confined in any part of the Chinese Empire, to be unconditionally released. Number 6. An act of full and entire amnesty to be published by the Emperor under his imperial sigmanual and seal to all Chinese subjects on account of their having held service or intercourse with or resided under the British government or its officers. Number 7. Correspondence to be conducted on terms of perfect equality amongst the officers of both governments. Number 8. On the Emperor's assent being received to this treaty and the payment of the first installment, $6 million, Her Britannic Majesty's forces to retire from Nanking and the Grand Canal, and the military posts at Qinghai to be withdrawn, but the islands of Chusan and Ko Long Su are to be held until the money payments and the arrangements for opening the ports be completed. Inhabitants of the Celestial Empire, Strange are your customs, your language, and your laws, but I regard you with increasing interest. And if I call ye heathens, and long-tails, and wise-looking men, and sleek-headed Solons, and sons of Confucius, it is rather in lightness of heart than in derision. There is neither Chinese nor Manchu among your millions, from whom I would not withhold my ban, nor to whom I would not freely give my blessing. We are the handiwork of the same Almighty Maker, and tenants of the same earth. Oh, may we be inheritors of the same heaven. May your idols be broken down, the instruments of cruelty be removed from your habitations, the word of God win its way to your hands, and the Christian faith take possession of your hearts.